It's now time to look at value chain strategy. Value chain strategy was one of the execution strategies. And why is it an execution strategy? Because the focus is on capabilities for competition. And those capabilities are either quality or cost. From that perspective, value chain strategy is very similar to normal strategy that you get taught about in your strategic management courses. The only difference is it doesn't focus on barriers to entry or control of strategic resources. In other words, it focuses on how you can compete better in the moment. So as we've already mentioned, what a value chain is a investment in execution. But it is also a orientation towards collaboration. That is, you're not seeking to do a new value chain, you're seeking to insert yourself in existing value chains. So from that perspective, it is a little bit different from what we'll come to call disruption strategy, to be dealt with at another time. The value chain strategy is really defined, of course, with regard to competition. It's oriented towards collaboration, and your investment is on execution, doing things better than others. The customers are, of course, within the value chain, which means that you are going to be trying to discover value for existing users. You won't be doing something completely new or completely competitive with that value chain. In terms of the technology, you'll be focused on component innovations, but this time you'll think about doing this in a more specialized way, so it's tailored to particular firms that are using it in particular products. In other words, unlike IP strategy, where that's a general licensing strategy, here you have to tailor things. You have to win each customer at a time. That, of course, means you need to choose your organization to build functional capabilities to make sure you can do that task better than anybody else. In terms of the value capture hypothesis, the value creation hypothesis, you are creating value by focusing on existing users and generating the best component innovations that will satisfy that. And in terms of the value capture hypothesis, you are focusing on execution so that you're better than everybody else, and by developing these key functional capabilities, that is the instruments by which you'll be able to do that and have bargaining power. A good example of a company that has chosen a value chain strategy is Drizzly. Drizzly is available in the US, and as you can see here, it's an app, and it is in the mode of the Uber but for drinking type business plan. But basically what they wanted to do, Drizzly wanted to do, is they wanted to deliver alcohol straight to people's homes. Now what they did not do was build out their whole distribution network for alcohol. In effect, all they are doing is taking from the outlets that exist, since I'm in Canada, in Toronto, outlets that exist straight to your door. So what they're doing is they're coordinating the delivery mechanisms for that process. So it's very similar to the business model that we saw, for instance, with Peapod. And the co-founders, Rellers and Robinson, said, we're not trying to rip down an industry and build it back up. All we're trying to do is give small businesses, in this case, bottle shops, the tools to be more profitable at the end of the day. So it's just another way of doing that. So that is a quintessential inserting in the value chain. You'll notice that it is not focused on control, because what they're doing is trying to do this particular segment of the value chain better than what other people can do. They're not controlling it, they're not locking people in, they haven't got any real blocking patents or anything like that. Here, of course, is our usual slide that is talking in a bit more detail about the value chain strategy, including some of the companies that have pursued it. One that you would have heard of is Foxconn. And Foxconn is one that should stand out because value chain strategy often sounds very pedestrian. It certainly hasn't got the greatest title, and we have discussed that. But Foxconn demonstrated that it can be a very profitable strategy indeed for companies pursuing it. So you shouldn't equate the pedestrian nature of what appears to be a value chain strategy and the possibilities of success, because success really is there and can be produced if that's the right strategy for the idea you're pursuing. Value chain strategies will also turn out to be quite attractive to startup firms because they can be less resource intensive if you already know the right partners you want to talk to. So the key value capture hypothesis is this notion of leverage. Do you have enough leverage? And so, do you have, human resources that you can ration along the value chain? Do you have these unique capabilities that allow you to serve supply chain, value chain partners, and it's very easy for them to find the same quality of substitutes available? And can you move that all the way up to becoming an irreplaceable supplier in the chain of value, such as Foxconn have managed to do? One company that did manage to pursue this value chain strategy, it was PayPal. PayPal is an extraordinary company, mainly because it's, for some reason, managed to accumulate people in it who were driving it, who ended up driving, literally in some cases, the world thereafter. So many famous entrepreneurs went on from PayPal to do other things, including Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Reid Hoffman, people who founded YouTube, and I could go on. It's just incredible what they were able to do. That's why it's called the PayPal Mafia. But what they were pursuing was, in fact, a value chain strategy with PayPal, which was to make payments easy on the internet for all manner of providers, both easy and safe, actually. And what that was able to do was, enable things where they weren't safe, such as eBay, who eventually bought PayPal, to generate e-commerce. And PayPal is, of course, still around doing that same function today, inserting itself in the value chain, even though there are competitors now, of course. Another great value chain strategy comes from the case of Sun Microsystems. Sun Microsystems in the 1980s developed what were called workstations. These were very, very powerful PCs that could be networked to one another to perform very high-intensive tasks. And they were extremely expensive as well. But Sun initially didn't have any customers. Now, this is a problem when you've got a value chain strategy, because someone who's going to rely on your product to service their own customers wants to know that you can deliver, that they can trust you. And so if you're coming in and saying, even if you're saying, well, I'm cheaper than these other guys, there's going to be a whole lot of problems associated with building up your brand and reputation. So value chain strategies can be quite difficult in that regard. Well, how did Sun Microsystems crack the problem? Well, what they did is they went to computer vision, which was the largest downstream incumbent at the time. And they liked the product, but they had a deal with another manufacturer for Apollo, a competitor. And we like your workstation, but the deal with Apollo is really done. I don't see how you could change our mind. And we've decided, and that's it. Uh, why? You're a 40-person company. You have an incomplete product. We love the technology, but there's no way you can supply it. Apollo is standards, well financed, well managed, etc. So the founder of Sun Microsystems, a guy called Vinod Khosla, said, "Look, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. We'll send half our company over to help you learn how to do it, put it into production, and go with it." There were, this was important because there were a lot of people in computer vision who, wanted to develop some capabilities inside. So that was going to make those people very happy. And you'll save yourself millions and have millions of dollars in gross margin because you are producing this. You don't have to develop your own technology. You get the latest technology, which you like more than your current one. The president of computer vision then say, "Well, in return for what do we have to do this?" And Vinod says, "In return for nothing." What they did was they supplied all this essentially, for free or at a very low cost. But that gave them the leg they needed in order to build up the reputation, build computer vision as a secure customer, and move on to others as well, and conquer the value chain strategy. So they persuaded computer vision to reconsider the option. They were an OEM for the Sun Workstation, and the contract allowed computer vision free access to the technology and ability to tweak things. But ultimately, they tended to rely on Sun for the day-to-day technical expertise. And so those capabilities ended up being what Sun was able to sell. They established themselves as a legitimate company and grew enormously to a very successful state. In terms of choosing your competition, this is, of course, what defines it. You've got to find these partners and have a reputation for treating startups well. This is actually the same issue that you had in IP strategy, of course, as well. That you're going to find partners you can trust. In fact, that's a hypothesis. If you can't find those partners you can trust, this is not going to end up being a good strategy for you. Okay? And so we already talked about Cisco as being that, and some go down the line of having alliances, and some actually sell them well. Okay? So this is, an important way of pursuing important important strategy collection of value chain strategy. They have their challenges, but they can often be easy to start and ramp up if you find the right partners to it. And so there's not much more to say than just that. You can apply your normal tools of strategy and competitive advantage in the moment to understand what is going on here. But ultimately, there are key value creation and value capture hypotheses that can actually be tested relatively easy, so long as you put a time frame on it.